Well, hello there. How are you going? Hope you've had a fabulous day. Thanks for joining me. My name's Campbell, and this is Autodidactic. Sorry, my camera just did something weird. And autodidactic means to be self-educated, and that's what we do here. We check out the strange realm we find ourselves in and come to our own conclusions because most of what comes through in the 2D world, the screen you're looking at, is not real, in my opinion. I think most of it's fake and it's propaganda and, it's just people repeating the same stories, right, that the mainstream are putting out. So this is all about coming to your own conclusions, getting different points of views, and definitely don't believe anything I say. I could be wrong, who knows? But it's all about you believing what you need, what you believe, right? Coming to your own conclusions. And also, don't believe anything on these videos, right? This is all just for entertainment, right, YouTube?
What if the largest machine on Earth is a modern echo of an oldest myth on Earth? Deep under the quiet fields of Switzerland, the Large Hadron Collider is not just smashing particles, it is a 17-mile circle of magnets where protons are whipped close to the speed of light and made to collide so violently that physicists can glimpse the first fraction of a second after the birth of the universe. They call it an experiment in fundamental physics. Yet its design reads like initiation rite. Ancient cultures told stories of the gates hidden in the deep. The Babylonians spoke of Abzu, the watery abyss where creation began. The Vedic hymns describe Indra breaking open the cosmic egg to release the worlds. In the book of Job, the Lord asks, "Have you entered into the spring of the sea or walked into the recesses of the deep?" CERN's collider, buried underground in perfect ring, could be read as a 21st century Abzu, an engineered underworld where matter is forced to remember its first fire. The detectors that register each collision carry names that sound like talismans: Atlas, CMS, Alice. In Greek myth, Atlas holds up the sky, a task of endless tension between above and below. Alice steps through a looking glass to a mirrored reality. Even the Higgs boson, nicknamed the God particle, hints at the ancient alchemist's dream of finding the seed that binds spirit to matter. Some mystics point out that the Shiva Nataraja statue outside CERN was not placed there as a joke. Shiva is the cosmic dancer, creates and destroys worlds with each step, just as the collider breaks particles so that the new forms of energy can appear. The symbol was a gift from India, but its presence feels almost prophetic, a reminder that every scientific revelation is also an act of cosmic dance. Physicists will tell you they're searching for dark matter and extra dimensions predicted by string theory. But the language of extra dimensions sounds suspiciously close to the Kabbalistics idea of hidden worlds and the Sufi teachings of veils between realities, or the Gnostic pleroma behind the material shell. Maybe CERN is only a laboratory. Maybe it is also the latest expression of an old human hunger to pierce the veil, to look into the engine of creation and bring back a fragment of its light. The question is not whether they will find a new particle. The question is what happens to a species when it finally builds a machine that acts out its own myths. If the collider opens the door, will we recognize this what steps through, or will it simply be us meeting the ancient mystery we have always carried inside?
Well, CERN and the Large Hadron Collider, the largest machine on Earth, or so they say. Yeah, leave me your thoughts. What do you think about that? Do you think it's maybe based on ancient technology or at least ancient, scripture and stories? What do you think they're really trying to do there? They say they're looking for dark matter. They say they're looking for the basically to work out how the universe came from the Big Bang, right? But I'm sure that people that smart understand that the universe didn't come from the Big Bang. That makes no sense. The whole story, it's yeah. There's a lot of problems with that story, right? Like all matter got shot out of one tiny, tiny, tiny compressed unit and became everything, right? And as it was all shot out, at least at the speed of light, some of it just happened to stop and form into planets. And then other bits formed moons around them, and then they all got together and formed solar systems, and they were spinning around in perfect clockwork fashion while being shot out into nothingness at the speed of light. I mean, that doesn't even work in physics. It's just, but anyway, like I said, don't believe everything I say. Do your own research. But let me know your thoughts. What do you think that they are actually using CERN for?
There's a door, open, a round door, like in the Stargate. And I don't know if it's as big. Yeah, there is one picture that the person is quite small, actually, on it. You can go and look for those interested. Go and type CERN portal LHC door, and you will see. So in front of the door, they have a room. They probably have many doors, but they have a room, and they sit around the table. And I said, so yeah, what happened? He said, well, an entity came from this portal, and like
What?
it sat at the table. I was like, but how is this entity? What do you mean entity? Is it a person? Is it an alien? What color are they like us? And they couldn't answer anything. They said, no, it's not. We know. We just know it at CERN, and they they cannot describe it, but they have it secondhand. It's not third, fourth. It's a very good friend who knows.
That's right.
Okay, I have to find something more because that's not enough. So
Even she knows it's not enough. I mean, she is a scientist.
I said, can you proof? And is there a proof that they bring that they give something? There's some document, and they said that this entity the second time took a scarf and left a scarf. I said, what type of scarf? And they don't know. They don't. They're not into the detail. They were really into the event and not the detail. And this entity left again. So that's the short scoop that started me going trying to look for that. And
Wow, what do you make of that? She was saying that a portal opened at CERN and a being of some kind got out, but of course she couldn't, or the people who she got the information from couldn't describe it or anything. And I mean, yeah, let me know. Do you think that's true or not? Because this is the thing about the internet. We don't know that she's a scientist, even though the voice came and said she is. It doesn't mean she is, right? And that she had no proof, no facts at all. So it's interesting information, and this is where we've got to get more information on that topic, I guess, before we can actually come to a conclusion of whether we should discard that information or keep it because it might be real, right? It might have some substance to it. Well, that's a little bit freaky, isn't it? That's the opening ceremony of the Gotthard Tunnel in Switzerland, just like CERN is in Switzerland. And you can watch the whole thing. It's on YouTube. Just Google Gotthard Tunnel opening ceremony. It's very demonic looking, very strange, and it has this portal looking thing at the end, and there's angels flying around and all types, and there's all these very elite looking people, all these dignitaries watching it, all in their suits and hats and stuff. It's pretty crazy. But have you seen that before? And what do you think it is? Because it is often linked to CERN, right? But at least, what they tell us, there is no link with CERN as far as, it's not a direct link, a physical link. Gotthard Tunnel is one of the biggest tunnels in the world. It's mainly for trains, and it doesn't go to CERN, and there's no other link to CERN. But a lot of people put it down as a link to CERN and a link to the fact that they might be trying to summon something right through the portal of CERN because we hear about portals at CERN and there was a portal in that clip as well. So it's interesting, right? Again, doesn't really prove anything, but it's another bit of interesting information. But please let me know your thoughts. What do you think it's all about? And is there a connection?
But science has reached the point now where we can build machines that exploit parallel universes in order to do something that you couldn't otherwise do. On the outside, they look like giant black monoliths, big metal boxes, about 10 feet on a side, 12 feet tall. And they are powered, they have a fridge inside them, a refrigerator that cools these chips to almost absolute zero. Just a wisp, a fraction of a degree above absolute zero. Hundreds of times colder than interstellar space. Amongst the coldest and most isolated and extreme conditions that humans have ever been able to engineer. These fridges, interestingly enough, which are called pulse tube dilution refrigerators, have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. And I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other, never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to. Until such time when you get to a chip like this, which is about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours. And if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use, but this is, what I'm telling you is absolutely correct and in line with the way that these things actually work. We've been doing this for some time now, and in fact we have our own version of Moore's Law. The doubling of the number of these qubits on the chip has happened once a year for the past 9 years. So for the last 9 years, every year the number of these qubit devices has doubled, and it will continue to do so. As a point of reference, in terms of how fast these things are, in one generation of chip, the one from the system that was installed at USC to the one that Google and NASA have now, the speed of the device went up by almost 500,000. This is the kind of progress that you're going to see with these types of machines going forward. And 500,000 sounds like an abstract number, but I put up a little mental comparison here to see what 5,000 really means. 500,000 is a big number when it comes to speed. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines. It feels like an altar to an alien.
There you go. That was Geordie Rose. He's one of the obviously quantum computer people. And it feels like an altar to an alien god. Um, what do you think about that? I mean, what I find interesting is the absolute zero. He says it's a fraction off absolute zero. I was taught that when things hit absolute zero, like all the molecules and things stop moving and basically they just fall apart, right? Everything just basically disintegrates, I guess, into its building blocks. So what kind of materials are they using is my first question. And how can it withstand that cold? But the bigger question is, he's saying that, there's the multiverse, right? There's lots of other alternate realities and they cross over, I guess, their energetic fields, and we can reach into them and grab their resources. What do you think that means? Like it's a computer. A computer doesn't have a hand. It's like what resources, I guess, and what could move? What could a computer grab? So we've got a bit of a story building here, We know that we're ruled by nefarious entities that are not us, right? Or at least that's my opinion, that they're not us. And so the question would be, well, where do they come from? Because I don't think they're native to this realm. I think we've been invaded, and I think the evidence is all around us. And so if that's true, where did these invaders come from? On the podcast, Tatari Australia, we've been looking into, do they come from the sea? Do they come, from under the ocean? There's stories of outer lands and things, but these are physical aliens, right? Beings not from here. But I've always had a thought that it could be dimensional, right? Like the spirits we hear about in stories, right? Disembodied souls or entities. That's kind of been a thought I've had for most of my life when I think about this topic. And so, if that's true, is that what they are trying to do? Are they trying to bring in disembodied entities into this realm? Because a disembodied entity could probably travel through a computer. If you look at the jinn, the stories of the jinn, who are basically the devils, I guess that's what the genie is modeled off. And that's from, Asia and the East, India, places like that. They call them smokeless fire. They say they come from smokeless fire, which sounds a lot like electricity, right? So could they travel through circuits? Is that what this is all about? Because then we can link it to the portals, right? The one we saw at the Gotthard Tunnel and the ones that we've heard about in CERN. It's a bit of a concern, isn't it? Are they basically, my theory is that they might be trying to bring through their Lord, right? Their God, the entity that has somehow spanned across into our reality and has been able to manipulate minds, right? And basically get people to work for it, to worship it, to make sacrifices to it, all this stuff, and basically to build technology in the long run so it can jump over into this reality. And of course, it doesn't have a body. We hear stories about possession and stuff, but there's also a lot of robots being built at the moment. Are they maybe constructing a body for their God and then trying to bring it across into that body? Because, of course, if it is electricity, electricity, then it would be able to live in a robot, an electronic robot. What do you think? That's my thoughts so far. Please leave me yours. And also, if you're enjoying this show, please do give me a like, share it around, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, most of all, let me know what you think of all this stuff.
We did it! We integrated the tiny human brains we grow in jars into robots. Something that literally every science fiction series said will end terribly. Really, really terribly. A lab out of UC San Diego, the Maturi Lab, decided to let a little brain organoid control a robot spider, in an effort to let it start to integrate with its environment. Initially, they found that unstimulated brain organoids fired around 3,000 times per minute, but when they stimulated it and allowed it to learn the environment, it ended up firing 300,000 times. This is a lot more similar to what we see in newborn babies. We already know that the brain organoids, even without stimulation, still end up giving delta brainwaves, which is the kind of brainwaves you see in a preterm baby or somebody who's sleeping. The brain organoids can form every structure in the human brain during development. One of the large issues with it is integrating it with a circulatory system, which we might be able to do inside of robots. Maybe one day my AI robot can actually love me. But in other horrifying dystopian news, we're actually able to use the genomes that we found from Neanderthals to make Neanderthal brain organoids to help us try and figure out how they differed from us or how similar they were. Which leads me to an ethical question. We are allowed to use human brain organoids right now. They seem to have the developmental brain waves of a preterm baby. However, when we're integrating them into robots, giving them material that they can actually interact with seems to get them beyond that developmental stage, at least in what we're seeing right now. Would it be more ethical to use Neanderthal brain organoids?
Is any of it ethical, I guess, is the question. But there you go, right? They're already building brains to put into robots. Again, do you think they're trying to get their alien, trans-dimensional, interdimensional God here and have a body waiting for him? It's all it's going very quickly, right? Or is any of this true? Maybe it's all just crap, right? Maybe it's all a movie. Who knows? But it seems to be real at this point. And it's they're getting this technology so fast and basically, it's like Terminator, right? All these movies we've seen. It looks like we're at the point where, basically we're going to be able to be controlled by robots and technology. So, I've said it before and I said it again, it's time to stand up and put an end to all this stupidity. But the other thought is if we're doing this, and we're using human or Neanderthal brains, will those brains become conscious? And is that what we are? An advanced version of that? Because in all the stories we have, we're told that there's a creator, something or someone created us. Right? And then we have all the stories about genetic engineering, Enki and Enlil and, basically high technology back in the day and creatures, beings from another realm, another place, coming here and engineering us and creating us. Is that what happened? Because, we're given this story that, consciousness is this rare thing. But again, if you look around, it doesn't seem that way, right? Life does not seem rare. It's everywhere. You go clear a field or, a forest, right? Go and clear a square kilometer or mile of forest, cut everything down, take it back to soil, and then go back in a couple of months and it'll be covered. Plants everywhere, right? Life is everywhere. That's all that we know. Of course, they give us this story of space, infinite space, where there's no life and nothing, but space is fake, in my opinion, and we have no evidence of that. The only evidence we have of is life is abundant, and so many things can just turn into life, most things. And now we know that plants are they're conscious, maybe not to our level, but they're conscious. But yeah, the question is, what do you think? Are we an engineered species?
Elon Musk has created a company, has a company now called Neuralink, and it is the first chip that is designed to actually interface in the human brain where neurons are actually interfacing with the chip to connect the human brain to the hard drive of a computer with no physical connection, with no wires. It's kind of like a Bluetooth.
Right.
Now,
your thoughts become manifest and operate.
Now, to a young person who has not been taught about their bodies, their relationship to their bodies, and how rare the human potential really is. When they hear that, they say, "Sweet, who wouldn't want to game without touching the keyboard?" But Elon Musk himself, in an interview recently, this is fascinating. He said, "As a businessman, I have to push the edge of this technology so that we can stay ahead of our competition." He said, "But we need, not me specifically, our industry needs to be regulated." He says, "I'm afraid."
He's been saying this for years.
Of where this is going.
Yeah.
So all of this is leading to, and that's a term you just mentioned, what is called the transhuman movement. And this is a new term. It means different things to different people. Technically, there are 3 levels of transhumanism. Transhumanism is, to varying degrees, replacing our natural biology with
Well, they cut Greg off, replacing our natural biology with technology, transhumanism. And of course, we've seen another type of trans movement over the last decade or so, haven't we? And I must say, Elon Musk, and I think he's, definitely just part of the show. He comes from elites and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a businessman, so I have to create all this technology, but it's really bad." I mean, come on. What are you telling us? L on? You've got no ethics? I mean, that's just, I think, just a big excuse, right, to try and make him look like he's the good guy. But if he was a good guy, he would be doing everything he could to stop this. He would not be furthering all this information, this technology. But transhumanism, right? Like the Neuralink into the brain. So they're putting brains on robots and teaching them, and now they want to put robots on brains, basically, like the same technology, the electricity, the L circuit, the closed circuit. Again, gins, right? Describe that they come from smokeless fire. Is that electricity? Is that why they're building all these electronics, right? And getting us to elect them into power and then using that power to power the electronics. And has this all got to do with some interdimensional psycho who has come in, taken over the minds of people, somehow possessed them, got them to build all this information, all this technology, so that it can now come across and have a body to live in and be physical? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts.
If I told you that in the book of Revelation, it says that in the end times, before Christ comes back, there will be robots that ask us to get the mark of the beast, or they kind of try to make us to, you'd say, no, that's not quite, there's no way, right? Like you would have heard about that. Listen to this. This is possibly one of the most shocking videos I've ever made. I think it's becoming clearer and clearer now than ever before that something big is coming, dude, like shortly. In Revelations 14, it says, they're talking about something called the image, or the image of the beast, or the statue of the beast. And it's basically described that this statue, this angel went to the future, or went and had a vision of what's coming when God's coming back, when Christ is coming back. And in this vision, he saw that we had made statues that we can then give life to. Now, if you're an angel looking into the future, or having a vision of the future, then you would see a robot. You didn't have robots back then, so you wouldn't call it a robot. You'd call it a statue. It looks like a statue, but then it's walking around. So we gave it life. That life would be electricity. But here's the crazy part. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, so like the statue, the robot, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be unalived. In other words, like when these robots, like they demand that you listen to them, put it that way. So then get this. The next line after that is, and he causeth, which is the robot, or in this case, I'm pretty sure it's just AI. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell without the mark. But here's why you and I will not be getting that mark. It says right here, and the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receiveth the mark of his name. This is why people say they're not getting the mark of the beast, dude. It says right there, it's going to be a bad time. Think about it. Picture how cringy it would be if you got the mark of the beast, and then Christ came back, and he's like, I told you, dude. Come on. So look, command for worship. The statue demands that everyone worship it. That's the robot. Enforcement. Anyone refusing to worship the robot is to be, and I blocked out that word, unalived. The mark. Everyone must receive a mark. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the shocking thing. The statue, aka robot, represents an anti-God system of worship and economic control, often interpreted symbolically as advanced technology, like AI or robotics. Ironically, this is Google's AI overview that freaking put this together. Or a powerful global system demanding ultimate allegiance. Do you guys think we're there yet? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and follow for more.
Yeah, man, the mark of the beast. Is that a chip? Is that a chip of some kind, right? On the wrist or on the head? I mean, it's not painting a very positive story, is it? But again, there's no that these people have already lost these beings, these allies, and I think they know it, but they just keep pushing their agenda and pushing and pushing. But it's very interesting. We've all heard of the mark of the beast, and it says that if you don't have it, you can't buy or trade, right? So basically, they're going to control your money. We've already seen this starting to happen, haven't we? Right? And we know about the 15-minute cities. We know about the electronic cars, right? The electric cars, which they can totally control. They can drive them. They can lock the doors of them. They can completely control them. And this is all about control. And this is all electronics, right? All electronics. And he was reading that bit from the Revelations and the angel looking into the future and describing moving statues, right? Robots. And then it says that those who follow him will never sleep or rest or something like that. Is that because they're all robots and robots don't need sleep? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
Have you heard of the 2045 initiative? Well, let me show you. So when you're going down the rabbit hole of transhumanism and learning all about the technological future they hold for us, it won't be long until you come across the 2045.com. It was founded by a Russian entrepreneur, Dmitry Itskov, in February 2011. With the participation of leading Russian specialists in the field of neural interfaces, robotics, and artificial organs and systems. And the main science mega project of the 2045 initiative aims to create technologies enabling the transfer of an individual's personality to a more advanced, non-biological carrier and extending life, including to the point of immortality. And there are 47,000 members. Now let me show you their project milestones. So this is their project milestones, 2015 to 2020, a robotic copy of a human body remotely controlled via BCI. Now in 2020 to 2025, an avatar in which a human brain is transplanted at the end of one's life. Their 2030 to 2035 goals, an avatar with an artificial brain in which a human personality is transferred at the end of one's life. And then at 2040 to 2045, a hologram-like avatar. They are calling this a new era for humanity. These transhumanists are working towards this goal, my friends. And you think the free speech hero Elon Musk is on your side? He may as well have started this initiative himself.
There you have it, Project 2045. And this just shows you how insane and crazy and psychopathic these elites are. And it highlights that they are not us, right? I've never met an actual man or woman, a human, who would even consider doing any of this stuff, right? Or start wars or any of that crap, right? So they're not us. They might be humans that are controlled by an alien, right? Not from here entity. That's a possibility. And that's why we have the bloodlines. That's why they have to keep interbreeding to keep their blood pure, because that's, DNA is a frequency, right? And so that's the bloodline that this beast of Revelation, if you want to call it that, whatever it is, Yahweh, Baal, that's what lets it control these family bloodlines. And that's what we see, right, as well, like these bloodlines of controlling, ruling families. It's very interesting. And so they basically just told you they want to make a robot, right, with a human brain. And then they want to make a robot brain and transfer the consciousness into it and then turn it into a hologram. Don't know what that bit's about. Probably to put us inside a computer chip, right? But as you saw, they are way behind, at least as far as what we know. They are far behind on their goals. They're not hitting any of them, right? We definitely didn't have a fully autonomous robot, humanoid robot in 2020, or a brain in a robot by last year. At least, again, right? At least as far as we know. But it just adds to the story, right? There seems to be a thread going through all of these narratives and videos, right? And that is that these elites seem to be trying to open portals, right? And to make contact with other realities, right? Other dimensions. And like Geordie Rose said, the quantum computer guy, they want to bring something back. And then we have this whole story of we're building robots and we're putting brains on them and we're going to put chips in brains and we're da da da. And at the same time, they're trying to control everything, right? With the internet IDs, passports. That there's a lot going on with that and traveling at the moment. Of course, electronic everything, electric cars, Wi-Fi and everything, all this mass surveillance, 15-minute cities, the whole shebang, right? So they want to control everything with the electronic grid that is run off electricity. So is that what this crazy interdimensional psychopathic god of theirs is? Is it electricity? Is that why we find ourselves in a world surrounded by electricity? Because we know in the old world, it wasn't this, it wasn't closed circuits. They were using earth energies, right? And macro circuits. And now we're into micro circuits. That's what they're making now. So it's a different energy, right? Different frequency and vibration. One is the world, the natural world, earth, nature, and like working with that. And the other one is working against nature, right? To build this false reality that we all integrate with and that we all interact with through computers and phones and all this kind of stuff. It's an electric world that they've created with closed circuits to control us. And now it looks like they're trying to bring their God through. But anyway, let me know what you think about all this, please. Do you have any more information to add? Because, I like to go through all the comments. I don't see them all. There's a lot. And I've been putting out a few videos, but I have noticed that a lot of people are going through the comments as well and reading them. So we're all we're all a part of the puzzle, right? We all have something to contribute. So if you have any good thoughts or, perspectives, please leave them in the comments. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, please share it around. Give me a like. And if you're not subscribed, what the bloody hell are you doing? Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button and you'll be notified of all my upcoming videos. But most of all, and I do want to say this is not about fear, like I've said and over, is we've already won, they've already lost. That can't be changed because we're coming into a frequency change, right? The positive charge. But this is all about being prepared, not scared, right? Information is powerful when you can use it in the right way and make your own decisions. And again, don't believe me or any of these videos, make your own mind up. And thanks for spending some time with me. Stay awesome, and I'll talk to you all on the next upload. Bye for now.
Come on, let's leave. Jeez Louise.
Would you like to lean your hand on my shoulder? Oh, no.
Oh my goodness.